Hey everybody, I'm back. I'm going to do my second ever toy review. This time filming in 4K, so hopefully it won't be as blurry, grainy as my first one. Yeah, I wasn't really pleased with the way it looked, the end result. So this time I'm going to be doing a bit of an older one. One thing you're going to see is that my reviews, they're kind of just done in any old random order. So I might be reviewing something brand new, might be reviewing something that's been around for a little while, maybe a long while. You know, I like to mix it up, kind of give people a good taste of the Transformers brand overall. All right, so today, if you haven't already guessed, this review is going to be on Combiner Wars Computron, who consists of the Technobots here. All right, and amongst them here we have Afterbreaker, who's a re-trademark name for Afterburner. You have Scrounge here, which old G1 Marvel fans will recognize. You got Nosecone, the leader of the group, Scattershot. You have Lightspeed, which is a very oddly rebranded name for Lightspeed. Over here you have Strafe, and then this little guy over here is called Cybex. He's a newcomer. We're going to start this off with the two oddest additions to this team. They were definitely not part of the original Computron, but they are a welcome addition. So here, again, is Scrounge. He's a very, very obscure character. You know, most people outside of older folks wouldn't even recognize him. His original, Marvel G1 self turned into a wheel. So, the way to go, keep costs down, was pretty obvious. They took Cosmos. It's a Thrilling 30 Generations Cosmos. Give him a new head, new paint job, and bam, you got Scrounge. You can kind of pretend he's a wheel if you want to. Whoop. He also comes with this little guy, Cybex. His little partner. So right off the bat, the two are capable of forming this kind of combined docking mode, which will come into play later. It's just kind of a carryover from the original Cosmos mold and his little partner, who Cybex was redecoed from. Alright, I guess I'll do the smallest guy first. So, Cybex, ready for this transformation? Bam! Robot mode. I know, impressive, right? It's not standing up very well. There we go. Robot mode. Get out of here. And now we're going to do Scrounge. Basically just separate his two halves. This up a little bit. Let his arms come out. Torso comes down. Straighten his legs out here. Bring little burners down there. Now, getting his head out can be kind of a pain. It's not really a good way to get it other than to just kind of hook your fingers in there. Alright. But this is a toy, a character that people have been wanting to see for a long time. Especially the old G1 purists. And this is Scrounge. And, I have to say, I never expected to get a toy of this guy. So having him show up as kind of a honorary member of the Technobots is really cool. You can see his head here. It's reminiscent of his head from the original comic, but it does seem to be based more off of Scrounge's model from the newer IDW comics, in which he's really just like a background cameo character, but the shape's a lot closer. Alrighty. He doesn't stand up very well, by the way. Cosmos has the same issue. He doesn't really sit like flat-footed. Alright, so Cybex is capable of forming Target Master-esque weapon mode. He just kind of pull his arms back, push his feet up to expose the gun barrels, and he's got a little handle right here on his chest that you just struggle with. Fail to pull out. does not want to come out. It's getting there. Power of my fingernails is willing it open. There we go. All right. So it turns in this little gun mode that Scrounge can wield. Bam. And I mean, they look really cool together. All right, second guy we're going to cover is Nose Cone. He is kind of a redeco, kind of a retool. It's kind of weird. So he's based off of the Brawl mode, Combined Brawl mode. And as you can see, he retains Brawl's original head sculpt. But he comes with the drill accessory that was made for BotCon General Ramhorn. So, I mean, kind of a retool, you know, weird. All right, so there's two different ways you can do this guy's vehicle mode. And same for any of the Brawl mode figures that use the drill. This is the way that's kind of recommended. Have the basically front of the tank become the rear and have it go like this. I like the way this looks overall, and it does help differentiate it from just the regular Brawl tank. The big problem, as you saw, is his head is completely visible in this mode. And I've already tried turning it around, doesn't fit the other way around. Doesn't go down all the way. So you're kind of either stuck with it like that, or you can take the drill off there and stick it in the standard turret position like the cannon would go on other versions of the mold. So you can do it that way too and make it more of a drill tank. Overall, I don't really like the way this one looks compared to the other way around, because it just looks like a tank with a really awkward looking drill slapped on it, and it's got this cockpit piece that just sits way too far forward. So, you know, it's up to you. You can have an exposed head or a more awkward looking vehicle mode. So, go ahead and transform this guy. Yep. Any day now. All right. So, you know, if you've seen Brawl done, you've seen this guy. Nothing different. Just flip the legs down here. Twist. Fold in that infamous waist people really, really hate, which, I mean, it looks silly. I don't hate it as much as most. It doesn't really bother me, but I can understand the criticism. Alright, flip his little backpack thing down. Yep, I am a master filmmaker. Look at that. Alrighty. So there's his robot mode. Personally, I do wish they would have given him a new head sculpt. You know, I mean, yeah, the Brawl head kind of has the right general shape, but Nose Cone doesn't normally have a mouth plate. So, you know, it looks weird. It really just looks like orange Brawl. All right, as far as his drill accessory, I mean, he can wield it a few different ways. You can stick it in his hand. My preferred way, just to make it look less awkward and long, is to attach it to his forearm there. Or, you know, if you want it kind of in storage, you could hook it onto the little peg right there and just have it. Just kind of hang out back there. Looks pretty cool, right? All right. All right, our third figure is going to be Lightspeed, who, from this point forward, I'm only going to refer to as Lightspeed, because Lightspeed is like one of the dumbest names I've ever heard. So by now you should be really used to this mold. This is the standard, not first aid, crosswise and, you know, prowl mold. Comes with the standard shotgun, painted black. See, it's actually red plastic there, so be careful of the paint and all that. you know, I'm a fan of this mold. I know it's seen way too much use over the, like a 2-year span, but I really prefer this over the breakdown slash Sunstreaker mold. It doesn't have those goofy wobbly hips, and it's just a lot more fun to transform. Big criticism on this guy. I mean, he's like just serious lack of like details and paint. It's just got like all solid gray here, but that's just me. Kind of neat looking. So we'll just go ahead, transform him quickly. Same old transformation. I was over trying to get the windshield up on this thing. That's one way to do it. All right. Flip his little backpack down. This mold has always given me trouble flipping the fists out. There's a lot of resistance there. All right, so this is Lightspeed. And as you can see, he is a straight up redeco of Crosswise. So, I mean, again, I'm disappointed they didn't go the new head sculpt, but he gets, the overall look of the character down. Can wield his rifle or his shotgun thing like so. Pretty simple, probably one of the least exciting additions to the group, given that there's no changes made to him whatsoever. Okay, fourth one is one of my favorite figures from the set, Afterburner, not Breaker, because that's dumb. Okay, and he is a slight retooling of the deluxe groove mold from Combiner Wars. He sports this new little kind of windshield cockpit area. It's unique to him. And you'll see he has a unique head sculpt too. So, he's got his weapons mounted to the side here. Really, you're supposed to mount them with these pegs to make them more flush against vehicle mode, but because this is all painted, this is a really tight fit to squeeze these pegs in those holes, and I'd rather not scrape all the paint off. He's got his kickstand, which, helps him stay up. Let's go ahead, transform him to his vehicle or his robot mode. This one doesn't have to separate. There we go. Flip the wheels out to the outside of his legs there. Spin around at the waist like so many Transformers before him. Pull the cockpit out. Spin it, 180, turn his head around, and press it in the back like that. All right. I have to keep tilting this camera further and further up. These guys are getting progressively taller. Okay, so this is Afterburner. This is definitely one of the coolest and original molds from the Combiner Wars line. This version of it, with the giant windshield thing kind of looming over his head, looks a little weird, but doesn't really detract from the toy much, in my opinion. And he is just awesome looking. Looks like he's ready to go bust some bad guys. All right, so now the most heavily changed mold out of this entire set is Strafe. Believe it or not, he is a retool of the Air Raid mold, but you could hardly tell, especially from the top. These are, what were Air Raid's wings, and these were, tail fins, which are now basically the wings. Got a whole new cockpit with the little guns attached to it, just like the old figure. But despite the differences, he transforms in exactly the same way. Fold these back, midget wings back. Head around. There's a lot of paint on his cockpit, so you might want to be careful with that, trying to scratch it. Right, and there he is. This, I'm going to say, is probably my favorite member of this team, just because he's so unique looking compared to the others. One thing you're going to notice, he doesn't have any weapons to hold on to. Even though he has these guns on the cockpit, unlike the original toy, they don't detach and he can't wield them as guns. I don't know why. I imagine it's for cost-cutting reasons, but it does seem like a really cheap omission. Still, I do really love the way this guy looks. All right, last part of the group is the leader, Scattershot, who is actually a redeco of himself, the earlier Combiner Wars Scattershot that was sold all by his lonesome and wasn't part of Computron, but rather some really half-thought-out Betatron, which was like basically Superion if you had Kool-Aid dumped on him. So, we're going to go ahead and transform this guy, kind of talk about the differences between him and the other Scattershot. So, first, I guess one big difference you might spot is that his whole cannon array is done up in this like magenta-ish color rather than the silver that the other Scattershot has, and it's completely painted. You can see here it's actually a darker color plastic, and then they decided to paint it this lighter color for some reason, I guess just to make it stand out more. Set that aside. Okay. Overall, this figure kind of takes more of its coloration from the animated depiction of Scattershot, with one exception that I'll point out here, but we'll go ahead and start doing this. Flip the tail fin down, fold the wings up. Actually, don't fold the wings up yet. Oh geez, I'm gonna break it. Okay, I fold the wings up. Pull that back. Pull his arms out. Bring down the legs. Feet. Bam. Bam. I say bam a lot. Fair warning. Basically, Emerald Lagasse coming in. Except I don't cook nearly as well. Alright. Pull his head out. I'm going to have to raise this up again. Jeez, point it at the ceiling and go from there. Actually, slide him back here. All right. Separate his weapon. Put the gun part in one hand, slap the shield on the other. There you go. New improved Scattershot. Overall, it's got a much more satisfying, much more intricate color layout, paint job than the other version. I talk about the exception to his animation accuracy. So the first Scattershot toy had his face colored in and gave him a head that more closely actually resembled his animation counterpart. But I guess they decided rather than just repeat that coloration, this version of Scattershot's head is actually colored more closely to the G1 toys. Alrighty. So now we're going to start combining these guys. Alright. Go ahead. The weapons. Tuck his head away. Pull the combiner head out, flip the chest panel down. Put his hands in the air. I'm not going to say the rest of it. I know somebody was expecting me to, but I'm not. Bring his legs back up as if he's going back in vehicle mode. Chest panels together. Open up the combiner ports. Alright. So there's his torso mode. Get that out of the way. Let's go ahead and do nose cone next. Turn him into a leg, because that's his standard configuration on Computron. So, turn this kind of leg, you're basically just putting him back in his tank mode, more or less. Close the legs again. For this to work, you have to actually put his drill in the normal tank configuration there. The feet back to make it shorter. Bring the peg out. We got a little crosswise. His leg mode is basically vehicle mode with the hood, like front of the car, flip back. You might notice I'm not attaching the feet yet, and we'll get into that. Right. Afterburner. Okay. So. He actually requires probably the least amount of transformation to go from robot mode to arm mode. Took me a second to remember how to put his arms. So, one thing that I'm not crazy about with this mold is that for arm mode, his arms are just kind of there. They don't clip on anything. You just bend them back. There's his arm mode. Alright. Bring it in Strafe to round things off. It's going to become the other arm. And he's going to become a special arm. That's right. Now, this is all painted, so kind of clip the arms on at your own risk, I suppose. Okay, I take it back. Maybe this guy requires the least amount of transformation for arm mode. Alright. There is Strafe's arm mode. Now, the reason I left out the hands and feet earlier, because they are completely different from anything else Combiner Wars has had. They are all new pieces, no hand-foot guns. You just have big old combiner feet, which are very reminiscent of, the feet used on the old G1 combiners. And you have fists, which, for storage purposes, plug into the bottom of the feet, which is pretty handy. Now, there are a few points on the other, the figures that you can attach these to for, storage and everything, but there's no official place to store them. And there's really no place to store them without it looking kind of awkward. These are the fists. Again, much more reminiscent of the old school combiner fists. So we'll be attaching the hands and the feet to the limbs. Dun, dun, dun. So we get one leg here. Another one right. Doesn't want to play ball. Oops. I need to actually get in the right spot, huh? Don't do that. Get in there. Okay. So you have the legs. Attach the torso here. Oh, geez. Well, this is going well. Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay. Bring in the arms. Alright, there's Computron in his robot mode. Bring back Scattershot's combined weapon. Computron wields it like so. Maybe he won't. There you go. Alright. One thing that's not specifically called out to do, but I've seen a lot of other people do it, and I think it's kind of was intended. So you can attach Afterburner's guns to the side of Computron's thighs, which actually evokes the original G1 toy that had guns on the sides of his legs there. Alright. You gotta be asking, oh, what about Scrounge and Cybex? Well, I'm glad you asked. So those two have a special purpose here. Put them back in their docked vehicle mode. Turn the big guy over. Around, I mean, not over. And they attach using this little hole right here, pegging onto the peg on Strafe's cockpit. And they become basically a shield for Computron. And this is kind of a very clever play on, you know, the obscure character Strafe, because in the old comics he was always bragging about this special arm he had that could like extend and capture video footage and everything, and was cruelly ripped off by Straxus not long after his introduction. So the whole, I guess, joke here is that, you know, him attaching Computron's arm renders it as a special arm. So, you know, fun little nod to, you know, the old school fans and everything. So anyway, how does Computron, you know, stack up against other combiners? He's definitely one of the most well put together looking combiners out of the entire line. You know, there are some things he does right, some things I think they could have done better. He competes with the Unite Warriors Computron, the Takaria release of it. There are a lot of differences between the two. Namely, like mold differences. Scattershot and Afterburner are the only two that actually even use the same mold between them. Lightspeed uses the breakdown mold on the Takara version. Nose Cone is actually retooled from Rook rather than Brawl, and like extensively so, and has a much more impressive looking drill instead of this dinky, skinny little one. And Strafe is actually retooled from the Japanese-only Blast-Off mold, the Space Shuttle mold, and extensively retooled from that. Also, they don't come with the, you know, the extras of Scrounge and Cybex. Also, of note, on Takara's Computron, the head is completely redone, so rather than just being a Superion redeco, it looks exactly like G1 Computron's, and his little chest here is also resculpted to look like the original Computrons. The big, I guess, downside to the Takara version is it doesn't come with the new and improved hands and feet. They still use the classic, like, hand-foot guns from the other Combiner Wars, Unite Warriors figures. So it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, I think, honestly, you know, when saying what's the best figure, it would be a mishmash of both of them. You know, probably use this guy's hands and feet, use their Scattershot, and then I guess it kind of comes down to a matter of personal taste on which of the limbs you would want to use. But yeah, this guy is, you know, he's really great. He came as part of a box set, $100. One thing that's great about the new feet is they have ankle tilt. So you can actually, unlike most of the combiners in the line, have him take on some pretty dynamic poses. Looking very powerful there. So yeah, this is Combiner Wars Computron. This has been out for a while. I imagine it's pretty hard to find nowadays. If you can manage to score one for not much more than the original retail price, I recommend doing so, because this was definitely a highlight of the Combiner Wars line. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will be back with more toy reviews as family allows.